loves. How are you today? I am great. Let's take a breath with that. Okay. My great thing from yesterday. Gosh, what even happened yesterday? Right? Sometimes it just slips away, doesn't it? And I have no idea what's going on with my voice. So you get sultry, Hannah. This is like after dark, Hannah. My voice really is quite low, on the contrary to how I show up here. So you're welcome. Maybe I'll go record some romantic flick recordings today because of this voice that I'm now sporting. Okay, so yesterday my great thing was just testing things. Like, I'm testing a lot, throwing a lot of things up against the wall to see what sticks. And today's episode really is going to be explaining that and explaining how to find yourself. And I don't know that I'm an expert, but what I am is actively going through that discovery, right? Actively pursuing what this is going to look like according to me. And so I may not be the most well-versed and well-researched person that's out there, but I am going through this with you in real time. And it's all just according to me, right? And so yesterday, I ran an errand, but I didn't run. I rode my bike. And I don't know. I don't know that bike riding is going to be the thing for me. I don't know where I'll end up, right? And that's the trick. We never really know. But I just started trying and making attempts at that discovery and just trying things that I haven't before, or trying things that were true to me as a kid that I knew and loved, and seeing if that still holds true, right? Maybe it was just a kid thing, but I hadn't really tried things for the pure enjoyment of just doing them, right? I was always trying to monetize. I was always trying to move up. I was always trying to be the most successful. And I have taken a step back from that and really tried to just dive into things that I enjoyed just for the pure enjoyment of doing. Ugh, I know, it's scary, right? And that's new to me. It's so new and it's so foreign. And yesterday it was just kind of like, yeah, I just want to go ride my bike. And yes, I have errands to run, but I could run them a lot faster, and I could just get them done, or I could enjoy a portion of that. I could move my body a little bit more. I could just see if I like that. And gosh, right? How many times do we do that in life? How many times do we just ask ourselves, like, well, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? Who are you? I don't know. And maybe more people ask, but I just hadn't ever in my adult life asked that question. Right? And yesterday we talked about depression or sadness and how that's an appropriate response to things, right? And for me, I just knew that medicine wasn't going to be the answer for me, or I felt that at that point. And maybe it still will end up being a part of this. And the last thing I want to do is stop people from taking meds that they need, because my story is just that. It's my story. It's my experience. And yesterday we talked about why I said no to those things, why I made that choice for myself, and the path that I now went on. And that was, I knew for me, I had to figure out where this was coming from, because no matter what I did, no matter what I bought, no matter who I was friends with, no matter what next level I upped in my career, it never felt like enough. And so it seemed like I was just going to be numbing myself through those moments that weren't those bigger moments, right? That weren't that big purchase or that weren't that big extravagant thing. And I so badly wanted to feel all of it. And that was scary. But I wanted to. And so I had to start to look at what I was healing from, what hurt me, right? And embrace that things did hurt me, and embrace that this pain wasn't coming from me not reacting to the world right. The pain was coming from me setting up my life according to other people, doing things that weren't true to me, just doing things, just checking boxes, just doing what was asked of me. And that just doesn't align with who I am and how I'm called to show up in this world. And so it was worth looking at that, right? The reason that I was sad, or the reason that I didn't know what I wanted to do, and they talked about this in the podcast, is because the very things that were making me sad were the very things that were filling up all of my time. That was my being. That was my identity, right? So imagine when your identity is assigned to things that are making you sick. And that's where you go every day. And that's what takes your time away from the things that make you happy, right? And so that was it. My purpose was so directly aligned with what was making me sick that it was making me even sicker. And I had to start to process what it looked like to figure out who I am without that. And I've had to remove myself from a lot of things. I was just talking to a friend this weekend of like, my entire identity, my entire being of who I was and what was valuable about me was wrapped up in sports. And that's so unhealthy, right? Because it's just a thing. What if that all goes away? Then who are you? And I had to remove myself from that environment because I had clung onto that for so long that I had completely disappeared outside of that. And it was becoming the same way with my job. That had become who I was, and I didn't know who I was outside of that. I didn't know who to be or how to show up. I didn't know if I was important if this didn't exist. And trust that, overcoming that, finding ways to exist outside of that task list, that was the biggest struggle so far. And now it's about diving into new things, experimenting, finding things that I like, doing the things that I like, right? And it's not just about having time. It really is about continuing to experiment. So when you get home from work, try to cook a nice meal. Did you enjoy that? Okay, let's do that more. Let's give ourselves that gift. Did you enjoy going on a bike ride? Did you enjoy reading that book? Let's find time there. And it's not going to be extreme where you just go on bike rides for 3 days straight. And maybe it will be, right? Maybe that's a gift that you give yourself. But go ahead and allow yourself time experiencing those things that you want to experience. And so my great thing from yesterday was allowing myself to experience those things, to really find what that is for me, because it's going to be different from everyone else. So that's my great thing. Go ahead and take time for yourself, right? Recognize yourself for your greatness. Start calling it into action. Do it. You will not regret it. It will be one of the best moves that you make for your life, period. So, since we're on the topic of soul work, on finding yourself, on discovering yourself, I remember on really acknowledging that you're a whole person, that the things that define you may not be true, and that's okay. That's a part of it, right? Finding that, stopping. And so yesterday I wrote a blog on this idea, on pausing. Pause. And that very much is where I'm at in life. It's not that I'm not moving, right? Just that I had to take a complete step back and just analyze where I'm at, where I've been, where I'm going, what I'm trying to accomplish, who I want to be, because I didn't always have that figured out. And I don't know that I ever sat back and really questioned or asked what I wanted to be. And so I'd said a prayer this morning like, dude, can you just help me out? I don't know. This feels so right. This feels so life-giving. This feels like where I'm supposed to be. And it's not draining at all. In fact, it's so life-giving. It's so different. And every day there's a piece, there's a low, right? Where I'm just like, no, we can't keep going like this. This is embarrassing. You have to stop. And every day I get stronger and that moment becomes shorter, right? Where it used to be full days where I'd not believe in myself, where I'd tell myself bad things. Now it's just, I remember yesterday, it was about 30 minutes of a low. And that's such a remarkable shortness of time where I doubted myself, where I didn't believe, that it felt so good. And so this morning I said the prayer, I asked the things like, bro, why are we still here? It should be life-sucking, right? And that's what people are telling me. I don't know how you produce that much content and you're just giving away so much. This should be draining the very life out of your veins. You're living for this and there really is no reason. What are you doing? And it just doesn't feel that way. It just doesn't. And so I woke up and I'm on the last chapter of this book that I'm reading. And it's called Crushing It. Those of you who are live right now or on YouTube, Crushing It, Gary Vaynerchuk. The funny thing about this book right here is I'd always been a follower of Gary, but I had never purchased anything. And I think true life work happens when something like this happens. I was listening to a webinar and it was a healthcare webinar and it wasn't even related to Gary or what we were talking about. And they were giving this book out if you attended the webinar. And that's not why I attended. It was something that I needed to learn for my job. But I ended up winning and they sent me Crushing It. And it was on the list of things that I should read in order to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And I never would read it. And I vowed to all of you a while ago that I was going to go back and read all those books that I said I was going to read to discover myself. This is the last book on the list. So I just finished it. Yesterday, I had one chapter. I had the conclusion left. And I was like, you know what? I don't know why. I'm going to save that for tomorrow. So this is the last sentence, the last two sentences in this book. And I had been asking for understanding of why this isn't exhausting me yet, of why everyone's telling me I should be exhausted and I'm just not. Why? And then I read this. You're not going to lose your soul if you do this. In fact, if you're truly an entrepreneur, you're going to get it back. And that's why. This is the regaining of my soul. And I understand that it's not happening as fast or as dynamically as most people want, right? When you go all in on your dreams, it's like you should go from 0 to a millionaire. That's what's supposed to happen. That's how it's written. And it's not true, right? How many people do we hear of starving or waitressing or doing whatever they had to do to get by, to still be able to chase their dream. That's the stage that I'm in right now. And I think the coolest thing, or what I'm hoping will end up being the coolest thing, because I refuse to stop, and I'm sorry if I'm supposed to, but I'm just not going to. I am not going to until it drains the life out of my soul, and it hasn't. And I don't think it's going to after reading that last sentence, right? The coolest part of this someday will be that someone wants to start something and they have no idea and they feel so lost in this world and they don't know who they're supposed to be or how they're supposed to show up, but they know that they're lost. They know that there's something more. They know that they're supposed to be called into this world bigger than how they're showing up right now. And someday, this might be the thing that leads them out. Right? And because I didn't wait until I got successful to start the podcast or to write the book or to do the thing, you and me, we get to go on this journey together. Right? This started a year and a half ago of showing up to live life on my terms, to start saying what I wanted versus just listening to what everyone wanted for me. That's how we started. And so I know that someday this is going to help someone, and it already has. I've already talked to you. I've already seen how it's shaped your life. I mean, I have listeners who started calling bigness into their future who had been showing up for life the same exact way that I was. I had people like that who were lost, who are now more found, right? We're never going to be all the way found. That's a hard pill to swallow. But I know people are out there. I know that people have used part 1 to find guidance, season 2 to find even more guidance. They've checked back in just to see, is this girl still here? Is she still going crazy? Come on, right? And I've heard from enough people to know that there's validity in this. And bottom line, I feel life doing this work, period. And so people can laugh. And so people can say whatever they want, right? That's the beauty of the world. People have their own opinions. People have their own ability to vibe with what you're saying or to not. That's beautiful, right? And so when I read that, I just realized that this isn't going away. And last night I had a conversation with my husband about, hey, Jordan, so I realize that I didn't necessarily start this relationship as hippy dippy and happy as I am now. And I just need to know that even if I show up in this world different, right? Different from how we started, different from who I thought that I was, even if I show up, are you still here for this? Because I recognize that I'm different, that this journey has taken me to a different place. And I lovingly termed myself as a sort of a hippie, like loving different things than what the world tells me to love, valuing different things, just holding values higher than material things, than anything. And yeah, that sort of makes me a hippie, right? And loving experiences and loving what I do and who I am and putting so much value in that maybe that's challenging, right? For people to understand, because it is a different way of looking at the world. And so that was the question. And he kind of said, yeah, but how long are we going to do this? Right? And I said, I'm just seeing where I even want to land right now. Where I even end up. Do I even like this? Do I even want to do this? Is this too tough? Do I even belong here? Right? And that's really where I'm at right now. Navigating that, finding my way through that, through the dark place that I'm in now to the light place that I want to be. And I think some of it is just that I've been forcing myself to live on an island. And admittedly so, I think the island had to exist because I had to take a pause and really listen to myself to figure it out. And that's been the most challenging part. And now that I've had a chance to just let all the voices settle, to let there just be true silence and darkness and feeling all of those feelings and reactions to the situation, now I feel ready to start including new voices, right? Because I have kind of grounded myself in what it looks like stripped all the way back. And so that portion of my life was called pause. 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 And now that we've moved out of pause, now that we're in this place where we are taking action, where we are moving forward, where we are involving people, where we, and when I say we, I mean you and me, right? This is where we're going together, huh? And my favorite listener, who has grown with me every day over this past year, is very much in a similar place where now that we've asked the questions, now that we've demanded more, now that we have gotten specific, now we know what we want. Now we start bridging ourselves into the next step, into the next phase. And since she's been here since day one, since she started showing up and asking questions and doing more and wanting more, and it wasn't day one, I'm sorry, it was probably like week 4 or 5 or 6, but she caught up, okay. But since she's been on that, anyone who's with us now, who's just starting to champion and start asking, right? We are showing up for more. We're taking new steps. And I think she was in a pause phase too, where it was just like, okay, we kind of got to see where all the dust settles. And it's fine to keep adopting new things, but I need to figure out where I end up in life, where I want to go, and what's important to me. And now... And this week is such a turning point for her. And I'm so beyond excited for her. And I'm hoping that, my turning point comes too. And we're all a part and a step away from those turning points. And I know there are so many people here who are wishing that they were there right now, right? Where it's like, okay, we paused, we took a moment, we reflected, we asked the questions, we got specific. Now what? And now what? Oh, trust, my good people. This is what you should know. We paused, and now we're moving into the power section where we start to move forward. I have what's coming up to be some of the most inspiring, amazing interviews. And we're just getting started, okay? What I really want to do is do the interview and then jump in live to a Facebook with the person that I interviewed. So I'm starting to structure the interview process so you can ask questions to of my guests, because I love getting to ask questions on behalf of you. But you should also get to ask questions because these guests are amazing. I'm like mind blown a little bit of who are lining up and how we got them here and how amazing that is. And so for me, I think I want you to have the chance to get to ask the same questions I do, because holy smokes, my whole entire mind is blown. But this is the power section, and it's okay, right? I want to give you the permission to pause, to power down for a little bit. That has been this summer, kind of, right? I thought it was going to be, boom, let's go, entrepreneurship. Hey, let's go, entrepreneurship. Here we are, awaken. This is what we're supposed to do. And it felt amazing. But so much of that jump, I thought was going to be a jump, hit the ground running, and go, sister. And so much of that jump for me was about not powering through the sadness that I was feeling, allowing myself to feel that, allowing myself to pause and fully feel where I was at in order to process, better align, understand where I'm coming from and why it hurts and why this is painful. And taking that pause really allowed me to move faster through that instead of continuing to stop and pause. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, instead of processing wanting to stop every week and having that last a full week and having that sadness last that long, now that I've allowed myself to feel it, right, I can transition faster. Maybe it isn't a full day. Maybe now it's just a half hour. Maybe now it's just a feeling that we process and that we move through. And I had to pause. I had to pause and ask the questions and fully feel if this is where I wanted to go, and not just jump into, boom, we're moving, boom, power, power, power. And I think so many times that's the world's interpretation of where you should be. And I'm going to sit here and tell you it's okay. It's okay to breathe. It's okay to pause. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay. Because more than anything, your interpretation, your needs are most important. And so move, continue to move. Just know that no matter how long you have to pause for, and mine was longer than I expected, and I really didn't even expect to be pausing at all. In fact, I was kind of annoyed, like, come on, let's not do this. Let's not go here. But part of the pause really was necessary, really was about moving this work forward, but valuing myself and valuing and understanding where I've gone before. And where I've gone before has been just moving through this and getting to the place where we can get successful so that people see that. And for me, that's a dangerous place to get. And so the pause took longer than I felt like I wanted. And now we're moving into the power section, people. Had to sit back, had to give myself space, had to give myself room to breathe. And now here we go. Trust. I have an interview today that is going to blow everyone's mind. The entire thing. I can't even help it. So just know, we're coming. The people who have risen together right here from this moment, from that low point, from not knowing where they wanted to go, we're getting into the power section. I'm so excited for my favorite listener because I know power, alignment, and beauty is coming into her life, and I can only hope that the same things are coming for me, and I know that they are. So, hey, like and subscribe. Go ahead and leave a beautiful review. That helps me more than you'll ever know. Not just the stars. Write something. All right. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change